Good. Maybe leave a gap. Oh, we gotta have a limb or two. There we go. That looks nice. Real quick before we start painting, I wanted to let you guys know that I am finally selling paintings on my website. It's been years since I've done this, but the paintings have sort of just begin to stack up, and I'm going to let you guys have what I've got on hand for a really good deal, but for a very limited time only. So check the link in the description to go to the website, and hopefully you guys will enjoy buying some paintings. Hi, I'm Kevin Hill, and today we're going to do a very large mountain reflected down into a lake. It should be really interesting and a lot of fun. And if you're looking forward to seeing this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more painting videos. All right, let's get started. So I'm just finishing here, scrubbing in a little bit of clear gel and white mix, just along the sky area only. All right, now I'm gonna wipe my brush out so I don't have too much of that in there. Let's grab just the tiniest touch of blue. I don't want much. In fact, really could get away with no sky at all today. That would be different. I don't know. That might be kind of cool, but I'm just going to tint the sky a very light blue. Can you even see that? Probably not. Probably not. So anyway, that's going to be all the color that we want today because I want my mountain to stand out against that. It's going to look like a foggy day. It's going to be very pretty and very different. I like different, don't you? At least when I'm painting. Otherwise, I don't like a lot of variety. Now, as you can see, I've got an upside down mountain here. That's actually what I did just a second ago, right side up. I just changed the canvas, I flipped it around. Now I'm going to paint the reflection. So this is a reflection and that's the actual mountain. Of course, if you like that one better, I guess you could leave that as the reflection. Doesn't really matter. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this as best I can. The way that I got my height for that mountain was after I was done, I measured like this. I turned my hand upside down and the point's just off the canvas. Gives you at least a starting point. It does not have to be perfect. So we'll just do our best to basically kind of paint this in. Again, just mirrored. So if there's that point there, you can actually, let me show you how to measure again. So you kind of got that point there. Okay, I'm about the right spot. This is actually a little easier said than done, but we'll stick with it here. I think it actually really helps to do this measuring. It's about here for that peak. It's kind of a pointy peak. I think the shape is more important than the actual height. You know, it may not be the perfect height. You know, this one may be taller or this one you're not quite in the right spot. But I think if we get the shape similar, then we're gonna be okay. This needs to come like this. Nice, so there you go. Just continue sort of working on that. There's a little line. See, I'm just kind of basically putting in my lines. And then I can go back and refine it. But see, everything is a mirror. So it goes that way. So it goes up here. We go kind of like this, I think. Right, yeah, that would be mirrored. It would be like that. Good. Is that right? I think that's right. I'll double check everything before we go too far with this. And maybe just a little down in here somewhere, just a couple little bumps to indicate that mountain there. We got this spot. We'll show you how to do this. Hit that little spot there, that little spot there. Oh yeah. So now that we have our rough sketch done, I flipped the canvas back over. So now we're right side up. I should probably put an arrow, but anyway, we can just sketch in this mountain. Today I happen to be using a smooth canvas, just one I wanted to play around with. It's not like I'm changing canvases or anything, but if you see these scratchy brush lines, that's why. It's just because it's a smooth canvas. Probably better suited to a portrait than a landscape. There. All right, we're just kind of continuing to block in these basic tones. There. That looks pretty good. And assuming this turns out right, this one will be available, obviously until it sells, right on the website. So go check it out as soon as you see the video, and you might get a chance to buy it. That'd be cool. All right, now we need to darken that. Let's take some blue and red. There, see how it's a little darker? Not a ton darker, but it is a little. And I will just place this on on what's going to be the shadow side. Well, there's not much of a shadow. A little bit of light coming across this way. Very little though, because it's such a foggy day. It's kind of misting out the light. It's kind of just not a lot of shadows. Not a lot of hard shadows, that is. There, kind of continue to play around here on this side. Just darkening it with that blue. Well, really kind of a purple mix, isn't it? Not too much, because we want to have room for placing in the browns, kind of the grays and the browns. But while we got this on the brush, we really it'd be a wise idea to go ahead and start throwing it down here as well. So wait a minute. Am I going the wrong way? I think I need to go this way. Here we go. Ooh, there's nothing more confusing than trying to do a mirror in your brain and put it on the canvas. Okay. I'm going to double check everything, but get us close at least. Now, this one would be right there. It goes that way, so it goes this way. Great. Yeah, that looks pretty decent. Stand straight back. Yeah, very good. All right. Whew, this is my test today. I forgot to get the lighter blue in, so we'll do that right now. I'm just filling a lot of this with light blue. Now I'm using the 3/4 brush to sculpt in some of these kind of snow areas and the shadows. Very light blue color. I had to lighten it a few times before I got it to show up. I think my palette's darker than that mountain, so just something to be aware of. It needs to be fairly light. Not much of this is going to get highlight. What we will probably do is just plop the highlight down right next to it. That's probably how we'll do it. There will be a lot of like light snow down in this area probably, but this is mostly shadow up here. But you see how it makes it look better? I've also spent a few moments with this brush just kind of smoothing out all the brush strokes that seem to help make it look kind of far away. We want this to look far. It'll give the whole painting a nice feeling of depth. Plus the mountain is the only feature of this painting. There's nothing else. We got some little trees. That's about it. Spend some extra time on this mountain. It's okay to spend most of your time even on the mountain. And the reflection, of course. So, maybe wipe out that brush. Soften. See, you can just get right back here and soften those edges. Oh, it looks good. Step back. Always constantly stepping back. There's another ridge line. And if for some reason, it probably will, get muddy on you or start to get really slippery, stop and wipe that area off with a blue shop towel, which I seem to have some today. That's a bonus. I'm prepared. That's a crazy day. There. All right, that looks pretty decent. Now we've got other shapes going on here. I had that blue snow right here, perhaps. We can always wipe this away if it gets too much paint down. There's no medium down here, so it goes on a little rougher. There's a little medium here at the top of the mountain just because of the sky, and there's nothing. I don't think I mentioned it. There's nothing down here. This is a very dry reflection because I want to blend it just a little. But this is starting to look really very decent. A little more action right here. Now I'm going to take just a break here for a minute from doing all the details of the mountain to roll in some mist. Now I've got white, just white right on the brush, and really just doing circles. You'll notice that I went ahead and kind of ignored the bottom mountain for a while. I just didn't know exactly how I wanted this one to turn out, so it was silly to kind of, do it twice and then change it twice, if you know what I mean. This way I only have to change it once until I'm happy with it. And then I'll just go ahead and reproduce it down there. That's the idea. All right, now over here, just continue to mist this area out so that it fades into nothing, and I think that is so pretty. Great, you could actually use your blender brush, probably be a better brush than this big thing for this particular step, but oh well. There. That's really pretty. I like that. Okay. Maybe a little brighter right down here. Actually, what we need to do is get some of the highlight snow. Let me reflect here in the water. And this is great. We don't have to detail it as much. Actually tell you what, make sure we got mist all the way across. This painting is all going to come together because of the subtle things. It's not even one big thing that's going to make this painting work. It's just a bunch of subtle differences in color and just subtle tones. See how I'm actually softening the mountain, just blurring it a little tiny bit. Good. I'm just making sure at least there's some color in the water, even if it's not much. All the way across. You don't know what might show, so get it covered. Whoops, a little mud for my easel. See that? Oh well. So I've just discovered something a little bit interesting here. Because this is actually an oil primed linen canvas. It's a very, very nice canvas, but there's no texture on it. So I'm able to take a shop towel, and instead of rubbing my mountain and the blue would remain there and I would highlight it, I'm actually taking the paint off all the way down to the original oil painting that the factory put on. That's kind of crazy actually, because I'm not used to that. I don't know if I like it or not, but hey, it's what we got to work with today. For this painting, it actually might be a wonderful thing. I think if I was doing a forest, I would be really not happy right now. I think it would be so hard, because you want that underpainting to be stuck on there. Well, today, because we're going with such light tones and such misty areas, I think it's wonderful. So it's going to be easy to, I will highlight. I won't leave it just blank canvas, even though it is oil paint. I still won't leave it that way. I'll paint it, but it's going to be easy. There, get some of the texture off. There won't be a lot of texture in this painting. I kind of like that idea. Something else, just something different, something new. There. Oh, look at that. Anyway, just wanted to point that out. So, if you're rubbing your canvas at home and it comes off like this, try a different canvas brand, because they do not all work the same. They're actually very different. You want one, when you do regular paintings, you want one that's extremely rough. So now I'm going to go ahead and place in some highlight, for the most part in the areas that I just wiped the paint off. That looks pretty good. It's just white and a touch of blue. See that? White and just a touch of blue. Not much. It's going to pick up a lot of blue as well. I'm using my little detail brush, and this is a great brush because it's so soft. It works really well for this. Now I would imagine if we didn't stop to wipe off the canvas, we'd be getting pretty muddy right about now. And so I think it was really worthwhile. One thing that's nice though here is as you go out, you can use these soft edges to kind of incorporate some more shadows. See that automatically, see, like that. So it's kind of a light spot and it fades right out. Pretty cool. Just continue here, painting in these little highlights. You don't need to go crazy. Every highlight you paint down here, you got to paint down there. Oh, I can double the work today. Oh boy. There. We haven't highlighted the rocks yet. I don't know how much rock highlight we're actually going to do. Probably do most of it here with the white. Isn't that beautiful though? I just love this. Whole scene is just exciting to me because it's different. It's just interesting. Nice. See those little slivers? Step back, make sure we're on the right track. But yeah, that looks pretty cool. You can do little hits like that. All right. Maybe even right here, just a little sliver right there. And this isn't a super fast process, but it's not slow either. We're just looking for that subtle effect of light bouncing around here. Now I'm dropping in some trees here, out of order. I just finished up on a little more detail of the mountain. I think it's close enough. It looks pretty good. It looks close. Not perfect, but it certainly is a pretty accurate representation. I think it might be enough for the sake of the painting. We'll see. We can always do more work on it later. But now I'm dropping in these trees. These trees are slightly out of order. I'm going to do some distant trees, but I wanted to see what it was going to look like with this tree line in, because it's kind of important to the painting. I wanted to see what it was going to look like with all this contrast. I'll stop in just a moment here. Good. I'm just doing it with a filbert brush to start, and I'll probably bring some detail out with the detail brush. Imagine that. All right, 3/4 brush. Let me grab some black. This has got to be the cleanest palette of all time. It's pretty amazing. We just haven't mixed a lot of color. We haven't done a lot of painting, just a lot of in this little area. Pretty interesting. There, and we really didn't paint a sky. So different. All right, take a little, I don't know, just light, kind of muddy color, pretty much a light muddy gray. Definitely not too dark. And I'll tell you what, before we go a whole lot further, let's get us some more mist just right here. I got my blender brush, so it won't cut through the paint nearly as much. There. Now that is nice. That actually helps match a little better too. There's a little mist right there. Good enough. Set that aside. And just from that mist, I want to create this little tree line. I almost feel like that's too, but see how you play around with it? I was gonna say too dark. Let's lighten it up a little. Good. There's our distant tree line. Nice. Of course, we'll reflect it down there, but I'm not going to be worried about that just yet. Good. Maybe even soften the top just by touching with the little blender brush. Very good. That just makes that melt right away. You can do multiple layers, so you don't have to. It's totally up to you. I might do multiple, or at least give it a little more contrast in an area or two, like that. It's not so much multiple layers. Well, it is a couple of multiple layers. Now I'm just continuing here to paint in some evergreens on the right side. You'll see that I very subtly reflected the tree line there in the water. Just painted it again upside down. Boy, it really doesn't show much though, so we're kind of going the extra mile by putting all this detail in the water. But the water to me is the best part of the painting. So anyway, now I'm just painting in these beautiful trees. See that? Done. We don't need to touch that at all. That looks perfect. Let's just paint a bunch more like that one. There. We'll just roll with them today. Good. Maybe leave a gap. Oh, we gotta have a limb or two. There we go. That looks nice. Maybe leave a gap, and we'll start making them just a little taller up here. Now that we've got all of the basic color and shape down, we can kind of transition into making this look not so horrible. There. Just got my little detail brush, and I'm going to use my second palette. This will be my second palette. And I'm going to just take that green and move it around. I shouldn't have to add anything to the brush the entire time. And now that I say that, watch me have to add something. But now we can just kind of bring out the detail in an organized little way. See that? Without going overboard, we need to just make it look a little more refined. Definitely paying more attention to the ones in the middle, less attention to the ones on the side. And we'll just spend our time where it shows, of course. That's the best way to do it, isn't it? And you definitely want some that are skinny and some that are full, some with longer branches. There. All right, now for a forest this size, this whole step probably take about 10 minutes. It's a real worthwhile 10 minutes though. That's looking good. See these negative pockets? Leave those. Today there's a lot of mist and I want to see that through the trees. And there you have it. And we'll highlight, but we won't highlight a ton. A lot of our highlight will actually go here on like the bushes and stuff. They're just going to be a lighter color for contrast. Nice. Look at how the edges of the branches become naturally lighter because they're mixing with the background. See that? Nice. Automatic, but it's kind of a fun effect there. Get a little extra detail that way. Now I'm going to go ahead and carefully, because I don't want to have to be wiping this canvas off, paint in these reflections. I'm going to do kind of accurate reflections, but not the most accurate, if that makes sense. I'm going to get the placement of the color at least started here with the 1-inch brush. This is dry, but because it's such a slick canvas to begin with, it's going to feel almost as though it was wet. It's going to certainly look like I have some medium down, but I don't. There, that's that. I would call it a portrait smooth. I don't know if I've ever actually seen a portrait smooth in person or not. I'm sure I have. I just can't remember it. But that's if I had to guess, I would call that a portrait smooth. see. But again, it's just a fancy canvas. It's the only reason why I'm using it. If you use a regular rough canvas, it's going to be easier. But why go easy when you can go fun? I chose fun over easy today. I don't know why, but I did. All right. See, I'm just kind of mapping in the largest trees. And, well, to tell you the truth, none of that's far down enough. I may grab a filbert brush or something, because I don't want to lose all these little nuances in the middle, if you know what I mean. I want to have those middle bits. I can go ahead and block the solid parts in, I guess. So I could come down a little farther, but I want to have all the little in and out pockets, as many as I can get. Yeah, so it's about like that. So it needs to come down a little farther. See why you measure? Get out that tape measure and at least get it similar. It should be very similar in size and shape too. Good. And down here, I got that much solid, so wow, I can paint literally all of this down here solid. It looks like, well, maybe not. Good thing I measured. Leave a little opening. There. I'd rather do too little than too much. It's right there. A little further. There. Good. There. So that gives you an idea. And then we'll just, we'll detail it here in a minute. Get a little umber actually, and indicate my, well, not just umber, but just indicate some of that land like this. Now we're going to go ahead and work on detailing these reflections. I've got just a little round brush, and I think the only thing that we need to worry about here is just getting a little bit of softness in our detail. Adding some of the detail and adding a lot of the softness. The technique I'm using is just kind of a scrubbing back and forth, squiggly lines to loosely indicate the shape of an evergreen in the water. We want there to be some movement in these reflections. They look better that way. That way also we kind of get an easier time. You know, you don't have to be perfect, and that's nice. But also I think it's a little more interesting. Just have a little ripple on the water. And so that leads me to think maybe we want to add, very carefully, some ripples over the mountain, which I will show you how to do. That could be slightly unpredictable, so we'll be careful. There, just always kind of constantly measuring. Not only are you going about the same height, you also are mirroring it. You know, so if it goes this way, then it needs to go this way. See how I just slide to the top there? This actually needs to be taller. Oh, that's about right. Good. Well, anyway, it doesn't have to be perfect. And if you make a mistake, like, oops, you tilted it the wrong way, or you put a tree where there wasn't one, the easiest thing to do, or for instance, watch this, I'm getting this a little darker here. You made it a little taller than you wished you had. Is that taller? No, that's about right, but you know what I mean. If you did, what I would do is I would just make that tree a little taller. Oh, I have a thought. Next time we do one like this, we should try and paint the reflection first, if that makes sense. You know, squiggle in your lines first, because I think it actually might be easier to come up and paint the trees in according to the reflections. Just a thought. Give it a try. Let me know. Let me know if it's any easier. Make sure they're fairly dark, but you can always darken them up. That's the easy thing. Just a little action right there. Good. That is supposed to be this one. This one needs to be thicker to represent that thick one, if that makes sense. But see how I do that? Just come in, make that one a little fuller, a little taller, a little bigger, and that way it makes sense. It matches. Now I'm using just the corner of the fan brush here to start working in some either bushes or grass or both. There, see that? Actually, mostly bushes. Let's see, a little kind of out of green. I need to stop and get some more, but for now, we'll just make our own. There, that looks like a decent little color. I don't want to over blend my color. You know, I want a lot of variation because it'll help add interest to this area, especially around the, you know, the middle of the painting. So I'm actually going to take a little more time on this than I maybe normally would for something like this, because there's not a lot of foreground to deal with. So anyway, I think unless I decide not to, I think we're going to have some large branches coming in just to change it up, make it not your average, you know, reflection painting. Darker on this side. There is some amount of light coming through. There. Make sure they look like bushes. We're not here to stamp in a bunch of grass. I want to make these little forest bushes. Good, and we can detail them out. We don't have to do them all with a fan brush. I just thought this would be a great tool to get them in pretty quickly. Good. Just the corner of this fan is all it really takes. I thought about using the filbert brush. It would probably work just as well, but you know. There. And we're going to have to highlight the evergreens too. I may even use the fan brush for that. We'll see. Now we need to finish up these trees with a little highlight, and just a little. I'm going to be taking the less is more approach. There's no real distinct lighting in this whole painting, so what's the point of trying to really highlight? This just wouldn't make any sense. So I'm going to allow it to mix a lot with what we've got down, and I'm going to probably just stretch my paint pretty far, just enough to show a little highlight, not a lot. Not a whole lot, just a dark, here we go, just a dark kind of, almost a palette green. Yep, there. Just a little highlight. Using just the corner of the 3/4 flat synthetic brush. It's a soft brush, so it layers over this wet paint and the canvas pretty well. I think the filbert brush would cut right through this particular painting today. Good, that's enough. It just doesn't take a lot. Right over here, I like, you see the thing about it is I like the dark. I like the contrast that we're getting with the dark trees and the light. There's our contrast. We don't need a lot of contrast in the trees themselves. That's just not necessary in this painting. It almost always is necessary, but not always, as you can see. And isn't it fun to show you something different, you know, where it's not normal. Just got something a little different going on. And it's kind of fun. There, so anyway, I won't spend any time at all on this, and I'll very, very, very carefully indicate just the tiniest bit of green down in those trees, but not much. I don't want to lose that beautiful contrast. So now I've got a light blue color here on my flat brush. I've also got a paper towel in my other hand. This is so I can kind of get started here, and then you just drift a little bit right over to the dark. You stop and you wipe your brush and reload it. And that way you won't get any of that dark pulled out into the light, which would be kind of not great. See how you can kind of cut your trees there? There, that looks good. Wipe it off, reload it, otherwise you'll contaminate your paint. Nice. I don't want a whole lot of these ripples. Just enough to kind of show a little water feel. Ooh, they're subtle. Sometimes you can just wipe your brush out because we are dragging the paint. There. Good. So I'll just spend a few moments doing this. Don't go crazy with it. Just try to be really subtle. Just a few. You can do a few right over, if you're careful, right over the mountain. That will help it look more wet, more like a reflection than an upside down mountain. There. Never forget to wipe that brush. All right, well, I think we're done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Don't forget to check out our website, our DVDs, and also this painting, which is going to be on our website for sale. Thanks for watching.